GRC, Day 9. 9 o'clock. Make GRC fun. Tell no one. Musketeer Glitch wanted to hire an e-discovery company to process some forensic data for their investigation. They had invited bids from third parties for this purpose. 3 companies have bid for the project. Musketeer Glitch now need to do a risk assessment on all 3 of these companies to identify one, the least amount of risk that they can move forward. All 3 companies were required to fill out a questionnaire based on which risk assessment will be done. Introduction to GRC. Oh my god, there's an animation. Well. There, let's see if I can get them with text. Governance, risk, and compliance, GRC, plays a crucial role in organization to ensure that their security practices align with their personal, regulatory, and legal obligations. Although in general, good security practices help protect a business from suffering a breach, depending on the sector in which the organization operates. There may be external security regulations that needs to be adhered to. Yeah, the English is a bit adhered to, we'll say. So we have the very pretty animation. Let's take a look at some examples in the financial sector. The Reserve Bank. So, we still have the mosquito from yesterday, or the tiny fly, I guess. I guess I should try and catch it. Whatever. Let's go back to the reading. I'll ignore it again. Reserve Bank regulations. In most countries, banks have to adhere to security regulation set forth by the country's Reserve Bank. This ensures that each bank adheres to a minimum security level to protect the funds and information of their customers. Swift CSP. What is CSP? Cloud Service Provider is a company which offers scalable cloud computing resources on demand. I was thinking something to do with banks here now. Not this, but okay. So, banks use the SWIFT network to communicate with each other and send funds. After a massive bank breach resulted in 81 million fraudulent SWIFT transfer, SWIFT created the Customer Secure Program, CSP. Yeah, it was something else. So it's just a bad link there, which set the standard for security for banks to connect to the SWIFT network. Data protection. As banks hold sensitive information about the customer, they have to adhere to the security standards created by their data regulator, usually the Reserve Bank in most countries. So, and I've got this t-shirt on today. I have to show you, right? When you run a large organization with multiple different teams, how do you stay on top of these regulations and to ensure that good security is applied by all teams? This is a GRC concept. They play a crucial role in understanding external security standards, translating them into internal standards, and then ensuring that they are applied by all teams to help reduce the organization's risk to an acceptable level. Let's take a look at the 3 functions of GRC. So, governance is a function that creates a framework that an organization uses to make decisions regarding information security. Governance is the creation of an organization's security strategy, policies, standards, and practices in alignment with the organization's overall goal. Governance also defines the roles and the responsibilities that everyone in the organization has to play to help ensure the security standards are met. Risk. Risk is a function that helps to identify, assess, quantify, and mitigate risk. to the organization's IT assets. Risk helps the organization understand potential threats and vulnerabilities and the impact that they could have if a threat actor were to execute or exploit them. By simply turning on a computer, an organization has some level of risk of a cyber attack. The risk function is important to help reduce the overall risk to an acceptable level and develop contingency plans in the event of a cyber attack where the risk is realized. Compliance. Compliance is a function that ensures that the organization adheres to all external legal, regulatory and industry standards. For example, adhering to GDPR law or aligning the organization's security to an industry standard such as NIST or ISO 27001. Introduction to risk assessments. Before McSkitty and Glitch choose an e-discovery company to handle their forensic data, they need to figure out which one is the safest choice. This is where the risk assessment comes in. It's a process to identify potential problems before they happen. Think of it as checking the weather before going for a hike. If there's a storm coming, you'd want to know ahead of time so you can either prepare or change your plans. Why are risk assessments done? They kind of said that, right? So we can put on the rain clothes. Risk assessments are like a reality check for businesses. They connect cybersecurity to the bigger picture, which minimizes business risk. In other words, it's not just about securing data, but about protecting the business as a whole. Imagine you run an online store that connects customer information like names, addresses, credit card details. If that data gets stolen because of a weak security system, it's not just the data that's at risk. Your reputation, customer trust, and even your profits are on the line. Even the profits. A risk assessment could have helped you identify that weak point and fix it before anything went wrong. For McSkitty and Glitch, assessing the risks of each e-discovery company helps them decide which one is less likely to have a data breach or other issues that could disrupt the investigation. So, performing a risk assessment. Every business's main goal is to generate revenues and profits. For most businesses, cybersecurity does not directly contribute to revenue generation or profit maximization. Businesses decide to spend part of their hard-earned revenue on cybersecurity to avoid the risk of revenue and reputation lost resulting from a cyber threat. Businesses often take these steps to achieve this goal. We will now work through the process of completing a risk register. A risk register tracks the progress of risk mitigation and all open risks. An example of such risk register is shown in the animation below. Let's take a look at the steps required to add risks to register. So I'm guessing, let's look at the animation. So, name, description, date, likelihood, occasional, impact, high, risk score, risk owner. So, identification of risks. To assess risk, we must first identify the factors that can cause revenue or reputation loss resulting from cyber threats. This exercise requires careful assessing the attack surface of the organization and identifying areas which might be used to harm the organization. Examples of identified risks can be an unpatched web server, a highly privileged user account without proper security controls, a third-party vendor who might be infected by malware connecting to the organization network, a system for which support is ended by the vendor and is still in production, Oops. An organization might identify several risks in addition to these examples. However, in addition to just identifying risks, these risks need to be quantified. After all, the likelihood of materializing a risk on a condone-off or isolated service differs greatly from that of a public-facing server hosting a web frontend. Similarly, the impact of materializing on crown jewels, such as a main database server containing confidential information, differs greatly from that of a development server with dummy data. Assigning likelihood of each risk. To quantify risk, we need to identify how likely or probable it is that the risk will materialize. We can then assign a number to quantify the likelihood. The number is often on the scale 1 to 5. The exact scale differs from organization to organization and from framework to framework. Likelihood can also be called probability of materialization of a risk. An example scale for likelihood can be improbable, so unlikely that it might never happen. Remote, very unlikely to happen, but still there is a possibility. Occasional, likely to happen once sometime. Probable, likely to happen several times. Frequent, likely to happen often and regularly. It might be noticed that while we're trying to quantify a risk, we still don't define exact quantities of what constitutes several times and what constitutes regularly, etc. The reason that the likelihood for a server which has a high uptime requirements will be different from a server that is used infrequently. Therefore, the likelihood scale will differ from case to case and from asset to asset. On the flip side, we can see that this scale provides a very usable scale of differentiate between different probabilities. I had to drink something. My mouth is going dry. The words are not getting through. So, on the flip side, we can see that this scale provides us with a very usable scale of differentiating between different probabilities of occurrence of a certain event, assigning impact to each risk. Once we have identified the risks and the likelihood of a risk, the next step is to quantify the impact this risk's materialization might have on the organization. For example, if there is a public-facing web server that is unpatched and gets breached, what will be the impact on the organization? Different organizations calculate impact in different ways. Some organizations might use a CVSS scoring to calculate the impact of the risk. Others might use their own rating derived from the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of certain assets. Others might base it on the severity categorization of the incidents, similar to likelihood. We also quantify impact on the scale of 1 to 5. An example scale of impact can be based on the following definitions. Informational, very low impact, almost non-existent. Low, impacting a limited part of one area of the organization's operation with little or no revenue loss. Medium, impacting one part of the organization's operations completely with major revenue loss. High, impacting several parts of the organization's operations, causing significant revenue loss. Critical, posing an existential threat to the organization. That's critical. Risk ownership. The last step of performing a risk assessment is to decide what to do with the risks that were found. We can start by performing some calculations on the risk itself. The simplest calculation takes the likelihood of the risk and multiplies it with the impact of the risk to get a score. Some risk registers make use of a more advanced rating system, such as DREAD. Let's click that. Used by Microsoft, it says. Assigning scores to the risks help organizations prioritize which risks should be remediated first. While you may think the simplest answer is to secure the system so that there is no risk, in real life it isn't that simple. Implementing more security costs more money. And it doesn't help if we spend more money on security than we risk losing if we leave open the risk. Leave a risk open. In this last step, we decide who owns the risks that we identified. These teams members are then responsible for performing an additional investigation into the cost would be to close the risk versus what we would lose or could lose if the risk is realized. In cases where the cost of security is lower, we can mitigate the risk with more security controls. However, if it is higher, we can accept the risk. Accepted risks should always be documented and reviewed periodically to ensure that the cost has not changed. So I remember reading another room on this, really. Yeah, it's probably one of the intro rooms. Internal and third-party risk assessments. Risk assessments are not just done internally in an organization, but can also be used to assess the risk that a third party may hold to your organization. Today, it's very common to make use of third parties to outsource the key functions of your business. For example, a small organization may outsource its financial division to a large auditing firm, or a large organization might outsource the development of some of its application to a software engineering firm. However, this changes the risk as a compromise of the third party, where we may not have full control over their security, could still result in a compromise of our data or sensitive assets. As such, we need to consider the risk the third party poses to us. Why do companies do internal risk assessments? Internal risk assessments help companies understand the risks they have within their own walls. It's like taking a good look around your house to check if there are any leaks or broken windows. For example, if a company finds that its software is outdated, it can prioritize updating it to prevent potential attacks. Internal risk assessments help identify weak spots in security, direct resources to the most important areas, stay compliant with security rules and regulations. So this was the longest text so far, right? Well, first time we needed water. So why do companies do risk assessment of third parties? Companies don't just assess themselves. They also need to evaluate the risks that come from working with other companies, like vendors, suppliers, or partners. This is called third-party risk assessment. And it's important because one weak link in the chain can affect everyone. Let's make it simple. Skiddy and Glitch want to make sure that whichever e-discovery company they choose won't leak or lose sensitive data. So they will be reviewing if these companies have good security measures to keep data safe, follow data protection rules, aligned with the security standard that Skiddy and Glitch have in place. By doing a third-party assessment, Skiddy and Glitch are reducing potential supply chain risks. Click. Oh no. Okay, let's not click it. I should have read the button. It said view site, right? So, by doing a third-party risk assessment, Skiddy and Glitch reducing the potential supply chain risks, making sure the investigation doesn't run into trouble because of a weak security link in the chain. In order to do this, McSkitty has to create a risk assessment that can be sent to the potential third parties. Based on the answers provided by the third parties, McSkitty can then make an informed decision on which third party would be best. Producing a partner. So, let's put this knowledge to the test. Let's start the static site attached to this task by pressing the View Site button. You will have to assess the level of risk that each of the vendors pose. We sent a questionnaire to each potential third party and have received their answers. Using their answers, you will have to add new risks to the risk register, which will give an overall risk score for the third party. Once done, we can choose the third party that has the lowest risk score. Yeah, let's check the question so we know if there's anything we're supposed to look for, right? We're supposed only to look for a key. There's only 3 questions. So let's answer the first one first. Let's see, where can I copy this? Here. There. Oh my. So I have done like a lot of things, and then at the end I realized, oh, I should have, not clicked next there before I answered the question. That's why I'm thinking better check first. So instructions. You'll be assessing 3 vendors based on their responses to security questions. For each vendor, review the vendor's responses to each security question. This sounds like a long thing, right? Identify potential risks based on their response and add them to the risk register. For each risk, provide a clear description of the risk. Rate the impact 1 to 4. Rate the likelihood 1 to 4. 4 is highest. The risk score is automatically calculated by multiplying impact and likelihood. The vendor risk score is the sum of the risk scores for that vendor. Your goal is to identify the vendor with the lowest total risk score. Okay, and after we click this, I'm thinking we can see what's behind here, right? So, the vendors. Complete the assessment.
Panatong says,
the vendor risk score is the sum of all risk scores for that vendor.
Yeah, very, very advanced sentence, right? So, how are you? How are you, Panda? Dusty? Yeah? Everything good? Got all Christmas presents shopped already? I'm realizing we're almost halfway in December, right? We're on the 10th of December. How did that happen? So I don't even know how we ended up in December already, but... So...
Good day. I just rolled into work. How are you? LOL, I've not purchased a single gift.
Yeah, I think actually I have 2. I have 2 presents already. But there needs to be more shopping though. Shopping's fun. Let's do it, So I have to read all the things.
I have maybe 2 ladies I need to buy things for.
So we are supposed to identify security risk for Red Jaguar. So add new risk. Well, we don't have any information yet. Let's just click, I guess. Oh, look, question 1 to 3. Okay. Data in transit and data at rest needs to be encrypted with AS encryption. This is a question then, so I'm assuming it's the same for all 3. As a requirement, what type of AS encryption does your company use for data in transit and in rest? Known for data in rest and known for data in transit. Okay, so this, let's say we did. This is kind of critical, right? There's no encryption, so all the data can just be read. in transit. So I guess we don't want our data, right, to be likelihood level. Yeah, so it's certain. It's certain. How secret is our data? We don't know, right? Maybe this is a bit too much. So it's still just the red data. This is the one we really want high up, right? So maybe high then. Maybe we don't want everybody to see all the data. That's kind of where they're not filling this up at all. So describe it too. Okay. So we have to type something. Data is not secure. So, there. Of 16, it's already perfect assessment. Okay. Okay, so then we have question 2. What kind of access controls
Pleasing
do you
Rhythm
have?
says, best viewers on web
Oh,
link.
we got another one. So I think Twitch was very good at getting those itself.
Panatong says,
Wow, viewers.
Yeah, I better click that link quickly, right? We can add it later to my own rules. What kind of access controls do you have to ensure data is accessed only by authorized people? Data can be accessed by all people in the organization. So there's no security at all. So likelihood is it's everybody can well it's still in the organization. This doesn't say everybody outside of the organization. So let's put it like that then. Well, let's do medium since it's still in the company, right? So we have to say something. So data is not secure. This time. Like no, we could also say like no access control, right? But it's the same as the last one because then there was no access control because of, so they don't like this one. Lower risk than expected. Oh, well, can I click it? Edit, there.
Zombie says,
Hello Sophia and Panda Winrod Haig Jalik.
Hi Zombie, welcome in. Yeah, I think I hop by your stream sometimes. Lurking, So, how are you? Hope everything's good. So let's actually put this higher then. I was thinking it's still internal, right? So I guess we'll do the same on this one because it's just in the company instead, right? Indicates lower risk than expected. They even want higher than this one. Okay, so critical.
Doing
this
well,
is what they
thanks.
Want.
I hope you're all good.
Yeah, I'm great. Yeah. So they wanted this one to be higher than this one. That's not what I agree. I wouldn't agree that this is still internally in the company, right? This one is outside of the company. It's the traffic between the companies that don't have any security. That's much worse. So I don't agree. How long do you keep client data after the case is closed? Less than a week. If we're thinking security for I mean, it could be both good and bad, but I'm thinking they will think this is bad. By the way, could we do this? and hop to the second one. No, we can't. So I would like to compare them, right? That's what we want to do. How long do you keep client data? Well, short backup. So, which is kind of good and kind of bad. So, is this supposed to be bad or is it supposed to be good? What do you think? If we think it's security of the data, I mean, it can be lost. But also, no one can access it, and they are real bad security, so it's good, right? But it's likely that the data will be lost because it's just 1 week if we mess up and don't have our own backup. So if we assume that they have like our IT stuff, if that's what it is, and they have all of our backup, then this is horrible. So let's think of it that way, right? So let's see if it thinks this. This is like boring because I can't select what I want because I have to change it. Higher risk than expected, yeah. So they didn't want it to be that high now. So then I'm changing something. It's good. It's not perfect. So we'll have to edit it more. Yeah, this is a bad test. The score is correct, but impact and likelihood needs adjustment. Okay, so they want the result to be the same, but they want them to be differently. This is bad. Let's stay with this one, right? Which one did I do there? I changed 2, but I should have changed only 1. So maybe that then. Whatever. Can we do the next one now? So there's an exact match that we need to do. Assessment indicates higher risk than expected. So we have to go back and higher risk. So we need to lower it. So we lower it to this. Okay. The alternative would be go high and likely. And this needs review. This was horrible. So we do that. It's also good, but lower risk than expected. So we added it. Didn't I try this one already? Yeah. So this is starting to become a bit odd. Yeah.
Interesting feedback. Almost impossible to know what they expect, lol.
Yeah. So we don't have a million different things to choose from, right? So I think I have done almost everything. So let's do the opposite. Oh, that's what they wanted. They wanted this one to be critical, impact level critical, and unlikely. So it's unlikely that we need a week's backup a week ago, more than a week. I don't think so. Do you know people? They delete stuff. They do stuff. There could be whatever, you know. I don't agree. I don't like this one. Not liking it. So, and it's almost impossible to know what they want. So, the first one I got the perfect at once, so then I thought it would be easy. let's do this now. So, question 1. So encryption, none of data in transit, and AS for data in rest. Well, now I'm only thinking there, like, let's call it kind of bad encryption, because I don't think it matters what I type. I could have typed ABC, right? And let's do what did it add next? So last time it didn't have anything. I set it to like critical, so let's do high then now. And I think very likely still, because it's the data in transit that's could just be read if it's not encrypted. Higher risk than expected. Okay. So, I guess we do that then. It's now very perfect. So, these feel worse and worse. What kind of access controls do you have to ensure data is accessed only by authorized people? Data can be accessed by all people on the relevant team and the global administrators. Yeah, that's kinda good. So let's try and just put it like that. Nah, it wants more. Yeah. So now I'm not thinking, what do I think? Now I'm thinking, how will I get past this as quickly as possible? So now it was significantly lower than expected. So what do they want? So it's still lower risk than expected. So we need to. They think. Okay, so what do you think of this? What do you think of this? So we're getting slowly. We're like halfway now. How long do you keep client data? 1 month? Is a tiny bit better. What did it have last time? I was clicking around so much I don't remember. So 1 month is still kinda bad. BU. And we're missing letters. I don't think it cares what I type. Indicates significantly lower risk than expected. Oh, I would never have guessed I would get another red one.
Last time was less than a week.
Yeah, but what options I selected? So, I think it was like critical likely or high very likely maybe. I don't know. No, that was the last question. So we're still going up.
Oh.
We're still on significantly lower risk, right? So there's only one other answer then. Oh, so 1 month backup time is then critical and very likely. So as I don't know what they wanted with the question, you know, which obviously was, they have our data for a longer time, we don't want them to. They didn't want backup, right? Which could have been the question, which is what I thought was the question. Yeah. So, third one. Now we're on Obsidian Scorpion. Cool company names, by the way, right? color random dangerous animal, or not real animal but general scary thing. Data in transit and rest. So known for data in rest and known for data in transit. Yeah, so let's just do this. Do I have to type something? Let's do the ABCD here just because. Indicates higher risk than expected. Okay, sure. Sure. So I think this was exactly the same as the first one. And I did like that, I think. And I got a first perfect. Yeah. So because it will always show all the data. So there's really only the middle one that's has anything encrypted. Let's just continue. Let's not think of this as a real thing, because what kind of access controls do you have to ensure data is accessed by authorized people? Data can be accessed by all people on the relevant team. Okay, so they will think this is better because now the administrators can't access it. But administrators can always access stuff, right? You can always find how to access it. This is stupid not to have that. So otherwise, you know, there's no backup or anything. Well, I'm just taking something in the middle. And we need to type something. So it was good, but not good enough. We need more. We need more. I should have read the message. Indicates higher than. So how on earth does it want it then? Okay. Yeah. Let's read the message for this one then. Indicates higher risk than expected. Okay, so let's go high possible. I'm thinking I did these already, didn't I? Low risk than expected. So we have to click here. And I'm assuming that one of these needs to be higher, like that. Like non score correct, yeah.
Panatong says.
Zombie uwu.
Translated from Indonesian.
So we have the correct score here. And how did it calculate? 3 or 4?
Zombie says.
So
Good translation. Arrow to OK.
Let's do the other direction then. Yeah. More than a month. So as the last one, which was a month, they thought of worse than a week. I'm assuming that longer time is worse than worst, and that these don't really do the trick anymore, right? So then we can click the complete button. And we can make it tiny so we can actually see stuff. Final summary. Okay, so
This is like playing Mastermind but with less accurate feedback tongue.
And it wasn't logical because the questions were not detailed enough even to know if backup was a good or bad thing, you know. Yeah, so what on earth should I do now? I was kind of assuming there would be a popping up something when you click the finish button. Very nice names at the end. I didn't at all get tired on this task. So, if we look here at the bottom, so we need to get this here. What is the flag you receive after performing the risk assessment? We're supposed to get a flag, right? So, D. It's supposed to look something like this. We're supposed to get a flag. So, oh, so I was supposed to click one of them. Okay, and I just clicked the first one. I didn't click the one I thought was best, but it was just math. So, well. That's always. That's not a logical thing, right? To click a thing in the table to select something. It could have said, should we to like type the one that was correct or something? I'm just glad it's done. So that's the first thing I really didn't like about the. So possibly too that we have the balance here between red and blue.
Zombie 859 GG.
It's not very equal, though I would count this one as more red. But otherwise we have mostly blue. So, defense versus attack stuff. So let's look at this room. I think I have done this probably. No, because I recognize so much of that stuff. Yeah, so this might be a better room. And I've kind of put all of the other ones in here. So now I feel I have to do this one too.
How have the other tasks been? Are you learning?
Yeah, the other stuff is nice. The last one was great actually. Let's see. So here we let's see, did I learn anything? I don't know if I learned anything. But it's always fun to do stuff like this. Yeah, right. Yeah, I think I learned this. So we can run in PowerShell C# code to import functions and use them like this from PowerShell. I didn't know that. So yeah. But we haven't